The Himalayas. The Himalayan ranges run in the west-east direction in the form of an arch with a distance of about 2,400 kilometers. Their width differs from 500 kilometers in the western regions to 200 kilometers in central and eastern regions. It is broader in western region. There are also altitudinal variations across the regions. The Himalayas comprise three parallel ranges. These ranges are separated with deep valleys and extensive plateaus. The northernmost range is known as Greater Himalayas or Himadri. This range is the most continuous, consisting of the highest peaks, with an average elevation of about 6,100 meters above mean sea level, MSL. Greater Himalayas are composed of snow and ice cover. You find glaciers here. The seasonal cycles of accumulation of ice, movement, and melting of glaciers are the sources of the perennial rivers. The portion of range found to the south of the Greater Himalayas is called Lesser Himalayas, which has the most rugged relief. These ranges are mainly composed of highly compressed rocks. The height ranges from 3,700 to 4,500 meters. The Pir Panjal and Mahabharata ranges form the important ranges of this region. The Lesser Himalaya ranges consist of the famous Valley of Kashmir, Kangra and Kulu in Himachal Pradesh. This region is well known for many hill stations like Shimla, Mussoorie, Nainital, Ranikhet, etc., and are covered by evergreen forests. The southernmost range of the Himalayas are the Shivaliks. Shivaliks extend over a width of 10 to 50 kilometers and have an altitude varying between 900 and 1100 meters. These ranges are called by different names in different regions: Jammu Hills in Jammu region, Mishmi Hills in Arunachal Pradesh, Kachar in Assam, etc. These parts consist of thick gravel and alluvium. The valleys lying between the Lesser Himalaya and Shivalik ranges are called as Duns. Dehradun, Kotli Dun and Patli Dun are some of the prominent duns. The easternmost boundary of the Himalayas is the Brahmaputra Valley. In Arunachal Pradesh beyond the Dihang Valley, the Himalayas take hairpin bend to the south and act as the eastern boundary of India and run through the northeastern states. These divisions are known as Purvanchal and mostly composed of sedimentary sandstones. Regionally, the Purvanchal are known as Patkai Hills, the Naga Hills, Manipuri Hills, Khasi and Mizo Hills. The formation of the Himalayas influences India's climate in various ways. These act as barriers protecting the Great Plains of India from the cold winds of Central Asia during severe winter. The Himalayas are the reason for summer rains and monsoon type of climate in regions that are beyond the Western Ghats of India. In its absence, this region would have remained drier. The Himalayan rivers have a perennial flow since these are fed by the glaciers and bring a lot of silt, making these plains very fertile. The Indo-Gangetic Plain. The interaction of the three Himalayan rivers, Indus, Ganga, and Brahmaputra, and their tributaries resulted in the formation of Great Northern Plains. In the beginning, about 20 million years ago, it was a shallow basin that was gradually filled with varied alluvial soil that these rivers brought from the Himalayas. The Indo-Gangetic Plains broadly consist of three divisions. 1. The western part. 2. The central part. 3. The eastern part. The western part was formed by the Indus and its tributaries, the Jhelum, the Chenab, the Ravi, the Beas and the Sutlej flowing from the Himalayas. Most of the Indus River basin is located in Pakistan, leaving minor portion of Punjab and Haryana plains in India. In this region, the Doab features dominate the fertile land between the two rivers. The central part is known as the Ganga Plain. It extends from the rivers Ghaggar to Teesta. This part is mainly spread in the states of Uttar Pradesh, Bihar and partly in Haryana, Jharkhand and West Bengal. Here, the river Ganga, Yamuna and their tributaries Sone, Kosi etc. drain. The eastern part of the plain exists mostly in the Brahmaputra valley of Assam, and the river Brahmaputra is mainly responsible for its formation. The Himalayan rivers, while flowing down, deposit gravel and pebble sediments in a narrow belt of 8 to 16 kilometers width found parallel to foothills of Shivaliks. This feature is known as Bhabar. Bhabar is porous in nature. Small rivers and streams flow underground through Bhabar and reappear in lower areas and form a swampy and marshy region called Terai. The region had thick forests and rich variety of wildlife. However, owing to migration at the time of India's partition, most of the Terai zone has now been cleared and used for agricultural operations. Fine alluvial plain regions are found towards the south of the Terai region. The Peninsular Plateau. The Indian Plateau is also known as the Peninsular Plateau, as it is surrounded by the sea on three sides. It is mainly composed of the old crystalline, hard igneous and metamorphic rock. Large amounts of metallic and non-metallic mineral resources are found in the Indian Plateau. It has broad and shallow valleys with rounded hills. The topography of the plateau is slightly tilted towards east, and the western and eastern Ghats form the western and eastern edges respectively. The southernmost tip of the plateau is Kanyakumari. The peninsular plateau consists of two broad divisions, namely, the Central Highlands Malwa Plateau and the Deccan Plateau. On the physical map of India, adjacent to and south of the Gangetic Plains and north of the river Narmada, you can identify Central Highlands. Prominent plateaus here are Malwa Plateau on the western side, and towards the east, there is the Chotnagpur Plateau. In comparison to the Gangetic Plains, the plateau region is dry. The rivers are not perennial. The irrigation for the second crop depends on deep tube wells and tanks. Identify rivers that flow on the northern side of Central Highlands. Chotnagpur Plateau is rich in mineral resources. The portion of peninsular plateau lying to the south of Narmada, a triangular landmass, is called the Deccan Plateau. Satpura Range forms the Deccan Plateau's north edge, while the Mahadev, the Kemur Range, and a portion of Michael Range are the eastern edges. Western Ghats, Eastern Ghats and Nilgiris form western, eastern and southern boundaries respectively. The Western Ghats lie parallel to the west coast. The structure of the Western Ghats is continuous with a few passes as the gateways to the coastal plains. The Western Ghats are higher than the Eastern Ghats. Thus, for the Deccan Plateau region, west-east slope is seen. The Western Ghats extend for 1,600 kilometers. Near Gudlur, the Nilgiris join the Western Ghats, and they rise to over a height of about 2,000 meters. The famous hill station Udumandalam, popularly known as Ooty, is located in the Nilgiris. Dora Betta with 2,637 meters is its highest peak. Western Ghats include the Palni, Tamil Nadu, Annamlai and Cardamom, Kerala hills. Anamudi, 2,695 meters, of Annamlai Hills is the highest peak in South India. The Eastern Ghats extend from Mahandi Valley in the north to Nilgiris in the south. However, the Eastern Ghats are not continuous. Rivers that originate in Western Ghats like Godavari and Krishna cut across the plateau and join the Bay of Bengal. The average height of the Eastern Ghats rarely exceeds 900 meters. The highest peak in Eastern Ghats is Aroma Konda found at Chintapalli 1680 meters in Andhra Pradesh. Nalamalas, Velikondas, Palkondas and Sheshachala are some of the hilly tracts of Eastern Ghats. One of the remarkable features of the peninsular plateau is black soils formed due to volcanic activity.
The Thar Desert. The Thar Desert is located on the leeward side of Arvalis and receives very little rainfall, ranging from 100 to 150 mm per year. The desert consists of an undulating sandy plain and rocky outcrops. It occupies much of western Rajasthan. It has an arid climate with very low vegetation cover. Streams appear during rainy season and disappear soon after. Luni is the only river in this area. These internal drainage rivers fill into the lakes and do not reach the sea.
The coastal plains. The southern part of the peninsular plateau is bordered by narrow coastal strips along the Arabian Sea on the west and the Bay of Bengal on the east. The western coast starts from the Rann of Kutch and ends at Kanyakumari. It is narrower than the east coast. This plain is uneven and broken by hilly terrain. It can be divided into three parts. 1. Konkan coast. This is the northern part. It touches Maharashtra and Goa. 2. Canara coast. This is the middle part. It includes coastal plains of Karnataka. 3. Malabar coast. This is the southern part, mostly in the state of Kerala. Bay of Bengal plains are wide and have a large surface structure. It stretches from Mahandi in Odisha to Kaveri Delta in Tamil Nadu. These plains are formed by rivers Mahandi, Godavari, Krishna and Kaveri and are very fertile. These coastal plains are known by different names locally: Utkal Coast, Odisha, Sarkar Coast, Andhra Pradesh, Coromandel Coast, Tamil Nadu. Like the Indo-Gangetic plains, these deltas too are agriculturally developed. Coastal zone also enables rich fishing resources. Lakes like Chilka in Odisha and Koleru and Pulikat in Andhra Pradesh are other important features of the coastal plain. The islands. There are two groups of islands: Andaman and Nicobar Islands stretched in Bay of Bengal and Lakshadweep Islands in the Arabian Sea. Andaman and Nicobar Islands is an elevated portion of submerged mountain parts running from Myanmar mountain Arkan Yoma. In Andaman and Nicobar Islands, Narkondam and Barren Islands are of volcanic origin. The southernmost tip of India is found in Nicobar Island and called as Indira Point, which was submerged during the 2004 tsunami. Lakshadweep Islands are of coral origin. Its total geographic area is 32 square kilometers. This group of islands is famous for a great variety of flora and fauna. In conclusion, it is important to note that there is a vast diversity in the landforms in which Indian people live. Some areas are irrigated by the mighty rivers flowing from the Himalayas, and some by the rain-fed rivers from Western Ghats and its forests. Many places are located in the river valleys and others in the mountains.
Keywords: perennial river, coral reefs, coastal plains, peninsula, Laurasia, Dun, Angara land, Gondwana land, Shivalik, and Purvanchal. Thank you for listening the lesson. From Lakshminarayana.